Okay. So, in case of object-oriented programming, what happens is, as the name says, object-oriented. That means that any real-world object, I can actually depict it as a program. For example, I'll say that. Okay, this was the basic idea behind object-oriented programming. Now, consider a water bottle, which is there right in front of me. Okay. Okay, even before I get into an example, I would like to tell you one more thing. Okay. So any real world object can be brought into a program. So what and all will a real world object have? A real world object will have certain attributes, right?
Yes, sir.
Am I right?
Yes.
Certain attributes and certain actions, right? Deepak?
Yes, I'm here. Yeah,
Yeah.
we started this on the first session, I believe, right? Where we
Yes,
took
yes,
examples as well
yes.
for a
So,
bottle.
correct. So we have real world object. We have real world objects which can be depicted in a program as well. So that is where my object oriented programming comes into picture. Now I have, like, for example, I have water bottle for which the attributes. Can you all name a few attributes?
For a water bottle, shape,
Height.
I Yes.
material.
Material, I have made it as make.
Okay.
Okay. And certain actions.
Fill water.
Empty, full.
Broken.
Dispose, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so all these actions I have. Now, again, I am just telling you with respect to one water bottle. What if I have to create multiple water bottles? Do I have to start everything from scratch like this, defining each and every parameter and identifying each and every parameters like this, and identifying each and every action like this, and then creating an object of water bottle? Do you think that is a good idea?
No, sir.
Okay.
It will be copying the same thing again, I think.
Yes. So for that, actually, what do I do here is that I create a blueprint of my water bottle.
Okay,
Good
sir.
idea. That's a good idea, right? So I create a blueprint of my water bottle. That blueprint is what I call it as a class in my programming.
Okay.
Okay. So now I guess you have a fair understanding of what an object and a class is. Now with this blueprint, with this class, I can create any number of objects I want. Like, for example, with this blueprint, I can create any number of water bottles, right? With that same configuration, like same attributes and actions, I can create any number of water bottles. So similarly in programming also, I have a blueprint class with which I can create any number of objects. Clear? Correct? So I just would take a simple example. I'll create a simple Java project. I'll switch my perspective into Java. Okay, now I'll take this. I'll have to create a blueprint, which is my class. I'll say okay. So now I have a class. I have to define all these attributes, right? These attributes, whatever size, make, color, shape, and quantity, are actually certain keys for which I will have values. So what I do is for this I'll say int size, shape. I cannot actually quantify it. So okay, all these attributes I have with respect to a water bottle. Whatever attributes I find, I actually create a variable of such attribute and keep it within my water bottle class. Now, whatever actions I find, what actions are, can anyone tell me what is an action?
Functions, sir.
Okay, in programming it is functions. That's a good answer. But what action is in a general definition?
To perform a function. To
To
perform
perform,
something.
yes, to perform something, right?
Yes, sir.
So to perform something, what do I do? I'll have a series of actions. For example, I'll pick one action like this. Public. I'll just print out saying okay, I've just defined two actions here. Well, I can define any number of actions like this. Now, I have a blueprint water bottle. I have to create objects of it, right? So, what do I do? I'll say water bottle. Uh, okay. So this line, I'll explain you what happens when I actually write this line in my console. Okay, so this is how I actually create a water bottle with the name Tupperware. So now what happens when I actually do this, when I actually have written this line, or when the runtime encounters this line? There are three things which are going to happen. First one is my object declaration. What object declaration? This is my object declaration part. Okay. So in this case, what happens is that my runtime is told that I'm creating an object of water bottle whose name is Tupperware. That's it. Okay. So this happens during my compile time itself. Okay. You'll understand more of what this impacts is in our later sessions. But for now, that just assume or just remember that my object declaration part happens during compile time, and the next part is my object instantiation. Now, what is object instantiation part in my line?
Water bottle.
Yes. So this will be my object instantiation part, and this will happen during runtime. Now, what happens during this phase is that it actually creates a physical memory for this particular object. Okay. A memory is allocated on heap for this particular object and given to it. Now the third last phase would be that of an object initialization. Okay, now this part will be for that. What happens during object initialization is I have created an object in my previous phase. Now I have to set some basic default attributes, right? Which even before starting out any operation, any other operation, for which I need some basic values to be assigned for all my attributes, right? So that is being done in my object initialization phase, where my object is initialized with some basic values. Okay, we'll understand more about this object initialization when we discuss about constructors, which is our later topic. Now coming to our methods. Okay, this was what was happening when I actually created a Tupperware bottle. Now, how do I actually perform different actions for this Tupperware bottle? I'll use this dot fill bottle. Now, when I try running this program, can you notice this output on the console?
Yes,
Yes, sir. I am filling up.
Yes. So, yeah, now what is filling up? It is actually the Tupperware bottle which is filling up. Now, similarly, I can create any number of instances. Okay. Correct? So I can create any number of instances of my water bottle class, which basically has all these default attributes, all these attributes and all these actions bound together in an object. Okay. Now you might notice that if I'm actually calling this method, you're actually feeling that my object or my Tupperware is actually calling this action, right? All these actions and attributes are bound together in an object whose name is Tupperware. Okay, so this is where I was telling that I was telling the difference between my object oriented and procedure oriented programming. Okay, so now what happens in this case is that till now, in case of procedure oriented programming, my fill bottle or fill bottle action used to take call whenever it has to be executed. Means whenever it whenever it feels like executing fill bottle, it was executing it. Okay, because the control was with the instructions. Okay, these are the instructions, right? These are the instruction sets. So the control was with the instructions. Whenever the instructions feel like executing, they were actually executed. Now, what happens in case of object-oriented programming is that my water bottle decides whenever it has to fill up or empty, right? Now, another example I'll explain you so that it will be easy for you to understand. For example, I have a human being class created. Okay. So can anyone tell me different attributes and actions with
Shape,
respect to a human being?
size, height, body color, sir.
Size. Okay, I'll quantify this. Weight,
Height,
height, nationality. Important
color.
name.
Name, sir.
Right. Any other?
Fine, sir. It's fine.
Okay.
Looks.
Looks. Can I quantify it?
Looks
No.
fairer and darker, something like that.
Okay, you racist.
Right.
Earlier, I think so. Was the one, sir.
Okay. So, and action. What all actions I can define with respect to walk, read, eat, sleep,
Sleep.
work, laugh, cry. So many actions. Well, there are so many. Okay. So
Teaching.
now, yeah. Thanks for prompting that. Okay. So there are so many actions like this. Now, what used to happen in case of my procedure-oriented programming was it was that walk was being applied on a human being, right? Which was actually not logical. It even procedure-oriented programming makes sense in currently, right? Like for example, I'm telling that object-oriented programming has advantages over procedure-oriented programming, but still procedure-oriented programming has not lost its own usage because it is being used till now. Okay, I'm just telling you the merits of having object-oriented programming. Okay, so till in case of procedure-oriented programming, work used to be executed on my data, which is human being, right? Which actually is not logical in terms of object-oriented programming. But in case of object-oriented programming, a human being can decide which action it has to perform, whether he has to walk or read or eat or sleep, right? This seems to be something really object-oriented programming, right? So that's what made object-oriented programming different from my procedure-oriented programming. Okay. So now methods, coming to our methods. What are all the methods? Methods are nothing but my actions of an object, right? Actions. Now, why do I actually have methods? The basic idea of having methods are just a group of instructions, right? Group of instructions, right? Methods are group of instructions which actually can be reused. Any other advantages of having a group of instructions? The memory, of course. Okay. So here, this was by method of, I'm saying, okay. So I have a set of instructions grouped as a method. Now coming to our, any doubts with the methods, guys? It is
Yeah.
just the actions, whatever actions I'm defining here, I have made it as a method. That's it. Okay. We'll proceed to constructors.
Can you explain the method again? I'm a bit confused in methods. What like?
Methods are nothing but a series of actions which actually can be grouped together. For example, here I have a method fill bottle which has two instructions. Like for example, it just prints out these two different set of lines on my console.
Okay, so you can say it's just a consolidated. It just consolidates all the actions in one. That's what we
No,
call it.
not all the actions I am telling. See, for example, to perform an action, actually you have to perform you have to execute different set of instructions, right? For example, consider I have a method saying add. I will add two numbers. Now, first of all, I have to find out two numbers. Right? So this is a set of instructions which will be executed when I actually call add method.
Okay.
Okay, simple. So this is what I mean with the methods. Now coming to constructors, will this name tell something or will this name alert something to you? What constructors mean?
It builds
What?
something.
Yes, it
Combine.
builds, or I'll say it builds. Yes, it actually builds. Now, what do I use these constructors for in my program? Constructors are actually methods again. Now, how are these different from methods? We'll actually discuss that when we discuss about the differences. Okay. So now constructors explicitly what it will do. Constructors actually come into picture in my object initialization phase. Okay. Now what happens in this object initialization phase is my object's instance actually is created on my heap memory. Now actually I have to initialize this or build this object with certain values, with certain basic set of values which has to be there within the object when it is used further. Okay. So now for example, here in this case, I'll add another attribute saying public string brand. Okay. Now, since I have used a brand here, okay, so I have created a Tupperware bottle. I have different attributes with respect to my this water bottle. Now each and every Tupperware bottle will have all these attributes. How do I access it? If it is, I just can directly access it like this. I'll tell size 10. Okay. So similarly, I can access each and every variable or attribute with respect to water bottle of my Tupperware object. Okay. Now it feels like all these particular attributes are actually bound to my Tupperware, right?
Yes, sir.
So now I have taken up this one. Now I'll say that. Well, I'll just add that up here.
Brand, sir.
Okay, I'll add one more. Public string
Name.
model name. Huh? Okay. So
So model name is still not there.
yes. For example, I consider some V100. Okay. Yes. So I actually with this actually I can know that each and every attribute like this is actually separately allocated, is actually an individual entity for each and every object I create of a water bottle, right? So similarly, I have each and every action also to be bound that's in, so to be bound together to make an object. Now this is what my methods are. Okay, coming back to what my constructors do in this case is that now you were seeing that I was actually assigning all these values one after the other after I create an object. Now, what in case I actually miss out to assign certain values here?
So it will not show, or it may cause problem if it is used in functions.
Yes, in this case, it may not print out. For example, when I was actually using this model name, I have not defined this model name. It was actually showing null. You might have noticed, right? So it was just a simple case. But when we are actually using it full-fledged, we cannot actually depend on such assignments. In that case, what I do is I'll take help from the constructors. Now, what constructors do is, well, constructors are called only once. Okay. When is that called only once? During object initialization. Okay. It cannot be called any other time. Okay. I'll just mark this. Okay. It cannot be called it cannot be called explicitly by the user, but only by the runtime. When the object is created, it will be called by default. Okay. So now, how do I actually create constructors in my programming? Now, there is one explicit thing about constructors is that my constructor's name will actually be the same as my class name. Simple. Simple to identify. Simple to identify a constructor.
Yes, sir.
Now, what I do is I'll actually put all these things into my constructor. Now, what happens in this case is whenever I create a water bottle of any name,
It will
okay,
create it somewhere.
Yes, it will create and assign all these parameters by default. All these attributes by default will be put into that. Okay. So now I find that I have a special need of creating different models of water bottle now. What do? I can actually override the functionality of this water bottle, like saying public. Now I will say that string model. Well, okay, and okay, one moment. Let me not confuse you.
Brand name, let's say.
Yeah, I'll use. Okay. So what I do is I have a special need of creating different brands and different models of water bottle. So I have created another constructor. By default, whenever the object is created, these values are set by default. Okay. So how do I actually set this value by default? Water bottle. I'll say I'll create another Pearl Pet brand water bottle. So I'll say new water bottle. I have to send in the brand name first of all. It was model name, right? First parameter was my model name. So I'll say PP100. Right? Now can you notice the output here? I have created two different objects, Tupperware and Pearl Pet. Now both of these objects are initialized when I actually call this, when the runtime by default calls the constructor. You need not actually explicitly invoke the constructor. Well, you will not have the permission also. Now runtime actually invoked this constructor for creating Tupperware bottle and this constructor for creating this Pearl Pet bottle. Okay, I can similarly create or write any number of constructors which will be picked up based on whichever object I am creating and based on whichever attributes I am setting when I am creating it. Clear? Clear with constructors, Deepak?
Yes, sir, it's clear.
Okay. Any doubts, guys?
Not from my side, sir.
No.
Okay. So this is how I actually create any number of constructors. Now differentiating between my constructors and methods. Okay. So I'll just difference. Okay. So can anyone tell me how is my method different from constructor? I was explaining you that.
So method can call anytime, any number of times, and constructor can be called once.
Anytime, or I'll say
Constructor can only be at the beginning.
any number of times, right? Any number of times this can be called, and this will be called only
Object initialization.
on object initialization. Okay, and my method, Deepak was telling something.
I was telling regarding constructor, like it can only be start at the beginning of when
Yes,
we come.
yeah, it can only be called on object initialization. Now, my method has to be invoked explicitly. Whereas in case of my constructors, it is
Invoked implicitly.
one time.
The name of the method can be anything, but the name of the constructor must be same as of that of the class.
Yes, good one.
Same name.
Method name can be anything. Well, that and my constructor name
Must be same as that of the class.
name as class name, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, any other difference, guys?
Mhm.
Constructor don't have return type.
Exactly. Methods usually or methods must, I'll say, must have return type. Constructors, no return types.
Constructor name is should be of class name.
Yes, we have mentioned that.
Okay.
Right? Now, why should I not have a return type with respect to my constructors? Any idea?
So it is
I
called runtime.
Yes, in case of my method, even if I'm not returning anything, can you notice that even if I'm not returning anything out of this method, I must mention that at least as a void. But in case of constructor, I'll not mention even the void as well. Can anyone tell me why?
Because at the object initialization time left side there was object initialized declared. Sorry.
Okay. So what happens in case of my constructor? My constructor's sole purpose is to initialize my object. Now, if its sole purpose is to initialize the object, it can return only the object. Which it is being written in. Guys?
Yes.
Okay. So that is why I will not have any return types with respect to my constructors.
Actually, sir, would you please repeat? My internet connection was gone at the time.
Okay. So by default, constructors usually see first of all, constructor's sole purpose is to initialize an object, right? So even if it is invoked by default, it is actually returning a returning an object of that particular class itself. So that is why I will not explicitly mention any return types for my constructors. With just telling that the class name is the name of that method, then it becomes a constructor. So for that, I need not mention anything. For that, I need not mention any, what do you say, any return type.
Return type.
Okay. So that is where my constructors come into picture. Okay. So now moving on to our next topic. Any doubts with constructors or methods, guys? Before we move on to our next topic of static way and non-static way.
No, sir.
No, sir.
It's much
So
more clear now.
much more.
Much more clear now.
Okay.
It was a little confusing earlier. The difference.
Okay.
Relatively clear.
Okay. So a static way of accessing class properties. Okay. So coming back to our program here. Okay. So now I was actually creating a water bottle here. So what do I do here in this case is that I find that they have banned plastic in my city. Okay. So I have to manufacture only steel or any other water bottles.
Material. Mm-mm.
Yes. So what do I do here in this case is I'll find that I'll manufacture only water bottles which is made of steel. So
Okay,
in
sir.
that case, my
We need
make,
to add a limitation to that.
no, it's not a limitation, I'll say. Okay. So in this case, what happens is that my make is actually same for all the water bottles, right?
Mm.
So what do I do here in this case is that I'll make it static.
Okay.
Okay. So what happens in this case is that coming back, my static is a keyword. Okay. Keyword in Java. Now what do I achieve in case of if I am using a static keyword is that well, the primary purpose of having static is memory management. Okay. Now how do I actually manage memory in this case is that when I make something, when I make certain attributes or certain method as a static method or attribute, what happens is that it actually holds one single copy of it. For example, I have created right. Well, I'll open up Paint so that I can explain you. Okay. So when my program is actually loaded onto my virtual machine to be executed, there is a stack memory and there is a heap memory which is created. Okay. I'll mention this as heap. Okay. So now what happens? My Tupperware bottle is created here. So my stack will just have the reference, okay, but actually the object is being held in my heap memory.
Mm.
Okay, the reference of which is found on my stack memory. Now what happens? All the different attributes like name, brand, color, what all, quantity, right? Similarly, I'll have all the oops. Name, brand, color, quantity, model. Okay. So this is my Tupperware. Okay. So this is how actually in my memory this will be represented. Okay. So what happens in case of my make is that since I have made my make as static, right, it remains same for all the objects which is created from my water bottle class. So even if it is remaining same for all the objects, I need not create it separately for each and every object, right? So what I do is I'll actually load all my static members onto a different memory space called as my class memory. Okay, all the static members in my program are actually loaded onto my class memory. Okay, so now since all these members are loaded onto my class memory, it is actually not that it is actually not a sole property of any particular object. Okay, so today I have created a Tupperware object. Tomorrow, if I'm going to create another object, say okay, I'm going to create another object, PearlPet, for which independently has its own heap memory space, which has each and every attributes again similarly defined like this. Okay, so now what happens in case I make a static or make this make property a particular proprietary of proprietary property of one particular object. It can change on its own, right? Means even if Tupperware changes the make, it will affect PearlPet also. So what I do in this case is that I'll not give this make particularly to each and every object, but I leave it to be referenced by my static members only. Like for example, water bottle dot make. What I'm doing here is I can actually invoke make with my class reference only. Okay. Since this make is not a particular property of PearlPet or Tupperware, I actually I actually have only way to invoke this static property is through my class reference.
Okay.
Okay, so we can find out some generic properties like this for all the classes and make it static so that it remains it actually keeps a single copy of itself. Okay, so for example, I'm actually creating for example, I have a class to actually record all these members of Aadhaar card. Okay, let me take that as an example. Okay, for example, Aadhaar card. I have everyone aware of this Aadhaar card
Yes.
or any voting election card, right? So in this case, what happens? For what all attributes can anyone tell me what all attributes I need to have? Name of the
Name, location, address,
name, address,
Gender.
contact details,
gender,
Birth.
date of birth.
Hmm.
father's name,
Yes. Right?
national, Indian.
Yes. So all these attributes I can have with respect to my Aadhaar card. Now I find that Aadhaar card is made only for Indians, right? So I will make this particular property as static and make it India. Correct? So that it actually saves my space, and whenever I find that whenever I actually have a case of changing my nationality from this Indian to some other value, I actually am changing the value for all the Aadhaar cards. Getting the picture? Understanding this,
Yes,
guys?
sir.
Yes.
So that is why my static members are not given to any particular Aadhaar card. For example, imagine I actually make it non-static or make it static, and I give the property and I give its permission to one particular person. For example, Deepak. Now Deepak is willing to change this nationality from Indian to American. What will happen? Everyone's nationality will be changed to American,
Yes, sir.
right? So that is why my static members are not given to any particular object. It is retained with my
But sir,
class.
if someone else is changing its nationality to American, then he's the only one guy who changed from to American. Not all the guys, sir. I think.
No, all the way.
Yes, everyone's nationality will be changed because it is made as static, right? Well,
Okay.
actually,
Okay.
in real terms, it is not made static because like people go from here and they get American citizenship, right?
Hmm.
I'm just giving you a high level example.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Okay. So, so in this case, what happens? The entire my nationality attribute is actually made with respect to this class. Okay, it is not given to any particular object. Clear with this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is how my static properties come into picture. Now, okay. So you have understood what static properties are. Okay. So coming to what non-static properties are. What non-static properties are? Non-static properties are nothing but the other properties which are not static. Simple. Okay. So whatever other attributes you can see here which are not static are non-static. So now these are bound particularly for each and every object. These are particular for each and every object. Okay. So this you can actually use it with object reference. Okay. Whereas in case of my static properties, it was my class reference. Clear?
Mm,
Okay.
yes. Mm-mm.
That is the difference between my static and non-static properties. Now, one more important thing I would like to mention here is that, see, static can be imposed on my attributes as well as my actions. Okay, attributes, you saw that I can actually make one particular attribute nationality as a static member, and action, how do I make an action as static? What happens in case of making an action as static? For example, consider that I'm creating an action like, for example, public static void change make. String now I have made this member or action as static. What happens in this case is that my static members, okay, so in this case, even the static method, I can actually call it with my class reference only. Again, it remains the same. Water bottle dot change make. I'll say that the make changes the value from steel to what do I mention? Glass. Okay, guys, am I audible?
Sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So in this case, what I have done is I've changed the make uh, from the existing steel to glass. Okay. So what happens? All the objects which are actually created changes its make value from means the value of all these make changes from steel to glass. So now what happens is that one important thing you can notice here is that my static members can be changed, or my static attributes can be changed only within the static methods. I have made this static method as static. That is why I am able to change my, I am able to change means it is good to change my static members within my static methods only. Okay. So what happens in this case is that my make is changed from steel to glass. Okay. So now how was I able to access or call this members within my main? Okay, main again is a static member. I'll get back to this once we finish this. Why have we made main as static? I'll get back to this. Okay, is this program clear? I'm actually calling this change make with my water bottle reference again.
Actually, sir, I still didn't get that why to make a function static, sir.
Okay. Again, making a method also static is because of memory management. Okay, first of all, static is mainly for memory management. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Since you were seeing that when I actually create a non-static method, it is actually bound with each and every object, right? You feel that this method is actually explicitly written for Tupperware. For example, here, when I actually was using fill bottle, you were feeling that this method was written only for Tupperware, right? When you actually notice this output, you feel that this method was bound with Tupperware. So each and every, all these methods and attributes are bound together within an object. So now, if I'm making a member or method as static, it is not bound with this object.
Okay, sir.
It is not a particular property of any particular object. So it remains class property. So only my class reference can invoke that particular static method. So
And function, sir?
yeah, I was telling you about the function only. So even the method actually becomes a static property. Like it can be invoked only with my class reference. Okay, one single copy of this class of this method remains, and it can be invoked whenever it wants by my class reference. It is not bound with each and every object like this. Clear?
No, sir. It's still not clear, sir.
Okay. See, what was happening?
I'm getting confused as well.
Okay. See, I have made this make as static here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have made this method also as static.
Yes, sir.
Now what happens in this example, in these two lines only, you can notice that this make is not a particular property of any particular object.
Yes, sir.
That you understood. Similarly,
Yes,
my method also is not a particular property of any object.
Okay.
Okay. it is also a class property.
Okay, okay, okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
till now, you are actually invoking other methods like fill bottle, empty bottle with object reference,
Mm-mm-mm.
right? But you cannot invoke change make with object reference. You actually need a class reference for that.
Okay, so sir, if we call water bottle dot change make or either pearl pet dot change make, so both are working same for everyone. That's one, sir.
No, 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 no. See, Pearl Pet and Tupperware both are water bottle only, right?
Yes, sir.
So that is why I am actually making this actually, since it is a static method, it is actually called by class reference, not by object reference.
Okay. Okay, 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 okay. Fine, sir. Got it. Got it.
Deepak, is this clear?
No, it's not clear. I'm still in dilemma.
Okay. Which part of this you find it doubtful? Can you tell me that?
I'm mainly confused when you're trying to explain. Can you take any other example so that I can? I'm getting more confused with bottles, even with Paul. So
Okay.
that's what causing me like thinking and
Okay.
getting confused again.
Okay. Okay. I'll continue with this Aadhaar card.
Yes, that's much better than
Okay.
bottle.
Okay. So what happens in this case? I actually create another method, change nationality. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So okay. So I'm creating a method, change nationality, where I am changing my nationality from India. For example, tomorrow I define that uh, my nationality attribute, which is assigned to, which is there common for all the nationals, Indian nationals, to be changed as, for example, say Hindustan. Okay. So what happens in this case is that this static class is actually changing all the attributes, all the, so upon calling this change nationality method, it will change the nationality of all the members, all the Aadhaar card holders from India to Hindustan.
Okay.
Okay, so that is why I cannot give this change nationality method call to any particular member, right? So what if Deepak is able to call this change nationality method, right? Deepak is able to call this change nationality method. What happens?
It will not work, sir, because it will used by the class name. Correct, no, sir?
In this case, what happens? Deepak is changing his nationality, which is made as a which is made a static method. This is a static method? I have made it as a static method. So Deepak is trying to change his nationality. Now what happens? The entire Aadhaar card holder data set changes its nationality in that case.
But it's static for Hindustan. So how could
Yes.
it be changed by just using the attributes? That's what
No.
is.
One moment. See, this method is actually static. Okay. Okay. Let me not. Okay. See, the value of this I have changed from India to Hindustan. How do you think I can change it? I cannot change it with any particular person's reference, right? I have to still make it as an object reference and change it,
Okay. Yes.
because this is not a particular property of anyone. I have to change it globally, right?
Group. Yes. Yes.
So in that case, my nationality is a global variable. I'll say that as a global variable. So for changing this global variable, I need to have a method similar to that global, right? Having that global feature of changing it in every reference. So that is where my static methods come into picture, whose sole property is that global coverage of accessing my static members, static attributes. Okay. Okay. So this was with my,
One.
yes.
Okay, instead of writing this static method and changing the variable, can we change in the attributes itself?
Can I change in the attributes itself? If it is a non-static one, I can change with the attributes.
Okay, instead of writing state in the attributes section, static. Okay, can we write glass there itself and can execute the program instead of requiring a static change make?
You mean to say that I use this one in any other method?
No, here we have used public static void change make, right, to change the make. So instead of, okay, here we have called it as water bottle dot change make glass.
Yes.
Upper part. Instead of calling here in the glass, can we initialize in the upper section itself while in initializing the object?
While initializing the object.
Yeah, in the first part, public static string make equals glass.
Public static string. Yes, we can do that.
Okay, so what is the need if we do that there and this static function?
Okay. See, the main intention of having static methods. Okay, I'll explain you what static methods are when I'm actually explaining you main method. You'll understand more about static at that time. Okay. So, and one more thing I would like to tell you is that my static members or static methods, okay, inside my static methods, I cannot actually use any other non-static members. Okay. For example, I have a static method here. Now, if I'm trying to use any other non-static member, like for example, color is equal to blue. Okay. My color is a non-static member, right?
Yeah.
I cannot actually access non-static members within my static methods. Okay. My static methods are explicitly made to modify or to actually manipulate or to actually deal specifically with my static attributes.
Okay.
Okay. That was the intention of having static methods. Okay, it was not anything different, because static again are invoked by class reference only, right? Static methods are also invoked by class reference. Static attributes are also invoked by class reference. Okay, you will understand more about static when I'm actually explaining you about why my main method is static. Okay. So coming to this, I was all the way writing public static void main. Now you might notice that this static actually makes sense why we are using it. See what happens when I actually load my program onto my virtual machine. What happens is that first of all, it will look for the basic idea is that it will look for my class name dot main. Okay, whenever any class is loaded, for example, water bottle class is loaded, it will look for water bottle dot main method to start its execution with. Okay, whenever a human being class is loaded, it will look for human being dot main. whenever a Aadhaar class is loaded, it will look for Aadhaar.main. Any class loaded, it will look for a class name dot main method to start off with. Why? Because my main method is the since my main why this is why my main method is actually made static, because when I actually load my class, there are no objects created already, right, of that particular object, right? When my class is loaded onto my virtual machine, I already don't have any objects of water bottle present within my virtual machine. That is why my main methods are made static, so that it can be invoked by class reference only, not by any particular object reference. Understood? Guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So that is why my main method is actually declared as static. Okay. So this was how my static and non-static members behaved. Now, is there any doubts, guys? I guess there is still some confusion with static and non-static members. Non-static, I guess, no doubts. But static, I still find somebody doubtful. Sarvesh, is this clear?
Yeah, Pawan.
Okay. And Preetam?
Yes, sir. Clear for me, sir.
Okay. Hemant, Deepak?
Yeah, it was clear from the Aadhaar card example. It was a little bit confusing from the water bottle type, so I was getting confused.
Okay. Okay. Any doubt? Any other doubts, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. So we'll conclude this session now. If any doubts, you can write to me or support. Okay. We'll reconvene tomorrow, same time.
All right.
Okay.
Sir. But in starting, you told me, sir, that it will be up to 9:30, sir.
Yeah. But any doubts, if you have, you can.
But sir, actually,
Okay. Vikalp actually is insisting everyone to remain till 9:30. So.
sir, we are behind 2 classes.
Yeah.
So we can cover up gradually, sir.
Yeah, we can cover up, but I would not like to overburden, because see,
If everyone,
yes, because I guess everybody is not on the same page of understanding, right? Because Vikalp is an MTech student, he knows
Yes.
Java, he's expert.
Well, kindly understand I'm BCom here.
oh, really sorry.
BCom and MBA. So now it's over download. It will take half a day to understand the bottles.
Vikalp, I guess
Yes, sir.
Deepak was actually.
Okay.
Bottle is not working for Deepak.
That's why I'm applying for Aadhaar card now.
Yeah, okay.
Vikalp,
Yes, sir.
any more answers you need?
No, sir.
Yeah, actually, we have the basic idea is that I'm not taking up extra other topics to this session, is that because each and every session is designed so that it will not burden any non-programmers also. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That is why I actually conclude whatever means. I actually make sure that whatever topics are there within the session, I actually make sure that all those topics are covered. If it is like not possible, I'll actually take over that topic to the next class. But it is not that I'll pick up some extra topics and overburden one particular session.
Okay, sir. Got it. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we can do one thing. We can have the 2 classes in a day. If topics are not covering up in a time.
Yes, we can do that, but again, it's up to the. Again,
No,
it's
I'm
up
not
to.
only asking, means if everybody is ready, then only.
Yes, yes, yes. It's if everybody is available, then we can actually find out another time so that we can actually schedule it. We can
Yeah, one
actually.
is in morning and second one is in evening.
Well, evening I'm not free. Evening I have another session,
No,
but
I'm just
definitely
asking anytime
yes.
we can, means between two classes at least we can have 1 hour or 1.5 hour gap.
Sure, we can do that. But again, I need everybody's go for this.
Yeah, if everybody is ready, then only.
Okay. Fine. We'll take a call on that. Okay.
Sure, sure.
Okay, sir.
Bye bye. Enjoy the weekend.
Okay. See you all.
Yes, sir. See you, sir.
We'll reconvene tomorrow, same time.
Yeah,
Sure.
sure.
Vikalp,
Bye.
Yes, sir.
yeah, you
Yes.
can stay back till 9:30.
No, no, sir. I also want to go. See you, sir.
Okay. See you all, guys.
Okay, thanks. Bye.